look, the Eagles are a really good team. Like to play that well and honestly still almost win. You know, they were in throwing range of the end zone with a chance to win the game even after the turnovers. They're a really good, really deep team. My only concern with the Eagles is that it seems like the injury bug's biting them at the wrong time. Like, they got to get Lane Johnson back. That is problematic. He hadn't allowed a sack since 2020. That's incredible. That's an incredible stat. Avonte Maddox goes down. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is on his way back, but they don't know when that's going to happen. And then obviously Jalen Hurts is the central piece of the offense. We saw that. They're so much more dangerous with the versatility that he has and obviously the way that he protects the football. But when are those guys coming back? They need them. Honestly, I hope so, because I want to see the Eagles at full strength. I would give anything. I want full strength on full strength in the divisional round of the playoffs. Yes, I do.
You want all that.
As a football fan, how could you not want to see that?
You won't show up to work.
I won't show up to work.
I'm looking for
You're the one that missed work the day after the Eagles lost to the Commanders.
That did happen.
That's all I'm saying.
That did happen. You were not here.
Don't make this a one-on-one.
Joy, where do you stand? What did you learn in the Eagles lost to the Cowboys?
Yeah, they need Jalen Hurts. They need the MVP candidate. One of the MVP candidates. Patrick Mahomes is obviously the MVP right now, and he's having an amazing season, so I don't want to say that. But they need Jalen Hurts. They're not going to win without him. I think he proved his value to this team. Again, I don't even know if I want to talk about this game anymore because I must have watched a different game. I had it on the wrong channel or something because what I watched was Gardner Minshew turn the ball over 3 times. 3.
Cooper Rush turned the ball over 3 times in the first game.
Oh, Cooper Rush.
Throwing that out there.
And the Eagles still managed to beat the Cowboys, who have a great defense. And the Cowboys managed to beat the Eagles in part to that defense who forced 4 turnovers.
Correct.
At home. It's a good win for the Cowboys. Like it was a good win for the Eagles.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what Cowboys fans are confused about. This is the problem I have hyping up a game where there's backup quarterbacks in it. Because it's not really full strength against full strength. And then everybody starts getting all crazy. Relax. It was a good win for the Cowboys. Dak played well enough to win.
Dak did.
He had a nice game.
He did play well.
Shady gave it a little more credit than he needed to, but I respect it. And the Cowboys defense was great. What you learned about the Eagles is this team is going to go as Jalen Hurts goes. And the important part is what Dave mentioned. The injuries are very, very concerning. Yeah. You cannot overlook the injuries as we're going into the most important part of the season for the Eagles this year.
I'm torn. Well, what I learned about the Eagles is that they are the second best team in the NFC. The San Francisco 49ers, second best. The San Francisco 49ers are the best team in the NFC. Go back and date it October 6th when I said the 49ers were the scariest team in football, and now the 49ers are playing like it. So that's what I learned first and foremost. The second thing, though, is, man, I think the Eagles missed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson as much as they missed anybody on that football field.
He's a hell of a player.
I mean, Jalen Hurts, clearly he was missed. But when I think about offensive output, I didn't mind what Gardner Minshew did. Gardner Minshew had 360 yards. On average, Jalen Hurts has 355 yards a game. Jalen Hurts' season-high yardage output, running and passing, 392. Season yards, touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. Turnovers, absolutely, beyond the shadow of a doubt. And more than anything, Jalen Hurts can overcome turnovers, right? Against the Chicago Bears, he had 2 of them, but he overcame them.
Yes, he did.
But when I think about the Eagles, man, that defense, it is inexcusable and unacceptable for Dak Prescott to go out there and have 350 yards, Dave, was it? And 3 touchdown passes. It's inexcusable. It is inexcusable to allow Dak Prescott to convert on 3rd and 30. That is inexcusable. It's inexcusable for CeeDee Lamb to go out there and get busy when you have 2 Pro Bowl caliber cornerbacks and 1 is all pro caliber. It's inexcusable. Say what you will about the absence of Jalen Hurts and say whatever you want, truly. But at the end of the day, if you give up 40 points,
but
40 points?
When you give them 4 extra possessions, what are you supposed to do? The 3rd and 30, I'll give you. Okay, that was
inexcusable.
That's inexcusable. But you turn the ball over 4 times.
That's a good point.
The Cowboys defense forced 4 turnovers. Let me say that. Okay, that's extra possessions for Dak Prescott, who's a good quarterback. With good wide receivers.
But
what they're supposed to do that. And despite all that,
but you shouldn't let them score on them.
Still had an opportunity at the end of the game.
That's hard to say.
It is, but
to go win the game.
Here's what they say. They call defensive players, hey, when there's a turnover, hey, fireman, go put the fire out. That's what they say on sidelines to the defense. It's not the fault of the Eagles defense that there was a fire. But the job description of the defense, whenever there's a turnover, everybody starts talking about fireman this, fireman that. You put the fire out.
But firemen get days off.
Honestly, regardless, you just can't allow 40 points.
You can't allow. I think we played a bad day on defense. That happens, right? It's the NFL. But to her point, she's right. Like, getting a turnover is one thing, but getting a turnover on the other side of the other team's territory.
Correct.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So two of them times they messed around with the handoff, whatever happened with that, they was right there in the red zone, right there.
It's almost when it's
on
like,
the 20-yard line.
It's almost like at that point, you got to make him kick a field goal. You got to do something like as a defense.
That's hard to do. Come on,
I know it's hard to do, but Shady, 40 points? 40 points?
But
you know how many points 40 points?
What she's saying is, no, Dak balled out. He balled. But what she's saying is, like, to get that many points, you had to have some help.
You
and
did.
That help is some turnovers.
You did. You absolutely did.
And the Cowboys defense is responsible for that.
Yes,
and
they are.
You had a quarterback
Well,
and Gardner Minshew.
Some handoffs, like.
But look, we know Jalen Hurts doesn't turn the ball over at a high level.
Right.
Gardner Minshew had 3 turnovers in one game.
But it's not like they were pick sixes. The Eagles got a pick six. The Eagles scored on defense. The Cowboys, those turnovers have nothing to do with 8 of 15 on third down with 19 first downs.
But they do have something to do with extra. 4 turnovers is an exorbitant amount of turnovers.
It absolutely is. But remember,
defense is tired as hell.
Let's flip this. And I don't want to be the Cowboys defendant. Dave, you can take the baton, but actually have to take the commercial break. Flip it on the set. How many turnovers did the Cowboys have when they played the Eagles?
I can't remember.
3. Yeah,
3.
No, I do.
And the Eagles scored 24 points that game. 27.
Where was the turnovers at, though? That matters. That don't matter?
It absolutely does matter.
So, first of all, they kicked the ball off, get the ball on the 25-yard line, 20-yard line. Fumble.
I'm saying we saw it before. The Cooper Rush turned the ball over.
Turned the ball over in his own territory.
I don't remember where that game was.
Let me tell you what happened in that game. Jalen Hurts had 155 yards passing. Dak Prescott had 350. At the end of the day, you can turn the ball over all you want, but on that defense, if you're a Super Bowl defense, you got to do something about it. You got to put the fire out.
Let's get the break because I'm not trying to hear this no more.
Coming up, let me tell you what Broncos fans are not trying to hear. That Nathaniel Hackett will be back, and thankfully, they don't have to hear it because he is out of there. Seahawks game, Seahawks-Eagles of 2014, during commercial break earlier. And we're like, oh, he looked kind of fast. That Russell Wilson?
He just looked faster.
That Russell Wilson is not the Russell Wilson that y'all see right now. Remember, Russell Wilson during the course of his career, 31 yards per game rushing. The last 2 years, 15.4 yards per game rushing. Russell Wilson's just not the same physical guy. It is what it is. I don't believe Russ is fixable because Russ was mixing wide open receivers. So I believe in the optimism, but I just don't know if that optimism is a reality. I think Russ's greatest days are behind him, 2-5. Where you stand?
I don't believe that, right? I think Russell had a bad year, but he's fixable. And why he's fixable is because, first of all, he has a lot of talent on offense, right? You need that. Solid defense. You just need the right coach. I love how GM could talk about his players like that. Mm-hmm. He got faith in them. There's nothing better in football other than momentum and confidence. And they still have confidence in Russell Wilson. That's all you need. So, yes, he hasn't been playing well at all, but I think that getting the right coaching, right, getting the right scheme, you'll have a time now that the season's over. They're not going to no playoffs. You self-scout. Now you watch all the tape. You watch all the bad, right? You watch even more good, if there is any good. Mm-hmm. And then you try to match that. How can we make Russell better? Look at all the plays that he did well. Let's do more of that. Let's do more of that. Let's do more of that. So now we have these interviews with these coaches. You tell them, hey, listen, this is what we want Russell to do. He does this well. When you have coaches like that, you make the best player. Look at the Eagles.
When you're that much of a vet, though, Shady, at what point do you self-assess? Meaning, like, by your 7th, 8th year in the league, you probably didn't need a running back coach to say, hey, Shady, press the hole and then make sure you look at the cutback lane. You know what to do. You know to press. You know to check the wheel. You know, go ahead.
That's the problem, though. I swear to God, on my career, once I left Philadelphia, now I still had good years, but once I left Philadelphia, nobody checked me the right way. So in year 6, year 7, I didn't have nobody telling me that, which, I mean, I knew it, but to have a coach actually teaching me, finding ways to make me better and better instead of say, hey, you got it, Shady. Take care of it. Nah, coach me. Make me better. Patrick Mahomes is always going to get better and better and better because Andy Reid is going to coach him every day, every practice. So that's all Russell needs.
You still had 1,300.
Hopefully.
You still had 1,300 yards. Let me come to you, Dave Hellman. Russ, can he be salvaged? What do you think?
I love that conversation right there because I think the biggest variable in where this goes for Russell Wilson is him, right? Like, I think, like, Russell Wilson, like I said earlier in the show, I can't wrap my brain around him just forgetting how to play football. Right. And I'm not saying that he'll ever be an MVP candidate again, but at the very least, he could be a guy that can win games on a talented roster. I think it's on him to look at this season. They let Russ cook, and the recipe, I don't know, maybe follow a different one, my guy. Like, maybe you don't need to be in the kitchen unsupervised anymore. And I think it's on Russell Wilson to recognize that, right? Like, I need him to come into this new regime and this offseason willing to be coached, willing to accept some fault in this, watch the bad tape, there is a lot of it, and say, all right, I'll do what you guys think I need to do to fix this thing. And if that happens, I absolutely think he can be fixed, but I think a lot of it depends on him.
I think they're confident they're not going to take a, $80 million cap hit?
No.
Is that what it is? They're confident in that. I know I'm confident I'm not going to take an $80 million cap hit, so we're going to figure it out. I believe Russell Wilson is aware of his point.